Hi everybody, welcome back to 17 Carat K-Pop and a massive headline roundup, all that's been going on in the world of K-pop and beyond. So much to get to, it's not even funny, so shameless plug right out the bat. I have some write-ups I will link to in the episode description, and you can get those updates in your email inbox for free if you're subscribed at 17caratkpop.substack.com. Some stories don't even make the cut, so make sure you're subscribed to get the latest on those. And I will also include some recent write-ups I did about music-related news in this episode's description. I have a write-up about Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, how there was quite a feud that broke out among parts of Asia for which parts would end up getting the Eras Tour. That was a whole thing. I broke down a lot of the ADOR versus HYBE versus B-Lift Lab company feud, which we will talk about today, but the full backstory in those explainers, linked to in the description. Without further ado, massive story number 1, this HYBE versus ADOR situation, which is very quickly changing. So please note, my assessment of it is as of recording time. A lot probably happened by the time you're pressing play on this episode. And as podcasters' luck tends to go, the big news drop happens the second our recording sessions do. So that's probably going to happen here, but I'll do my best to get you up to speed. ADOR, ADOR, is a company one of many HYBE owns. So HYBE has many subsidiaries now. HYBE. HYBE owns Big Hit Music, which is now a lower tier part of the business. It started out as just Big Hit Music, period. So Big Hit under HYBE, as well as ADOR, Source Music, B-Lift Lab, etc. Groups like BTS and TXT are under Big Hit. The main group under ADOR, New Jeans. Source Music has Les Seraphim, they had G-Friend. B-Lift Lab gave us ENHYPEN, and ILLIT, the new group who is the source of this dispute. The main source of this tension spilling into public view is the fact news broke that HYBE was auditing ADOR. Now that's actually not really a big deal, just that. Companies are audited all the time. It's not to necessarily look for wrongdoing. It's just a way to kind of inspect their finances. Are they reporting their financial status truthfully and completely? And it can detect pretty benign stuff like you missed this one thing. So it's not really to find criminal proof or anything. It's just a way to check finances. An external party is hired to look into it. So that became a big story. I would argue kind of excessively so, blown up as if that's like inherently nefarious. What then made the story feel more dramatic was the anecdote that spread far and wide that HYBE had done this audit upon thinking we suspect Min Hee-jin, the creator of ADOR and New Jeans, is about to separate. She's going to try to break away from HYBE, totally own ADOR independently. It's a coup attempt, and we need to figure out if it's true she's really consulting external parties about how she can logistically do this. HYBE then went public with threats of legal action against ADOR, saying that it was not just a business contract breach and etiquette breach for business partners, but that there were violations of confidentiality terms involved. Like if she's talking to outside parties about intimate financial information, stuff that's private info about ADOR's status, she's also then inherently disclosing private info about HYBE itself. They further said she was not taking sound advice due to a shaman, some spiritual guru, telling her what to do, and her basically following the fortune-telling guide. Min Hee-jin responded to all these claims in detail, first in just a statement, then an emergency press conference. The statement said a couple of things. One saying HYBE is, quote, blinded by short-term profits and is mass-producing unoriginality by copying successful cultural content without hesitation, unquote. She accused them of basically taking ADOR's concept, their whole aesthetic, and copy-pasting it onto ILLIT. So taking intellectual property and branding ideas from New Jeans over to B-Lift Lab and ILLIT. So basically, instead of arguing, no, you've got it all wrong, she did not dispute the accusation that she's trying to break free of HYBE. Instead, she said stuff that would affirm that suspicion, that she has a right to do that because they stole her work, they did not protect her individual creativity. They were the ones who betrayed trust first. And you can't just take one subsidiary's blueprint and share it with another. So now they're accusing each other of sharing info with people who should not have it. Min Hee-jin had this emergency press conference where her lawyers likened this situation to a divorce. Like, irreconcilable differences must be cited, we must part ways with HYBE, communication is broken down, and they kept betraying what they promised. And they showed a lot of receipts, text messages on screen, projecting proof of certain conversations, like ensuring her autonomy creatively over ADOR that she says were not upheld promises. There were many things she said, so I'm going to really quick run through them. She said the following: I wasn't talking to external parties just on a whim. They reached out to me first. I was reciprocating, and any comments I've made that they exposed as a sign of me trying to spin off were kind of said in jest, just casually saying things about, I wonder how I could break out of this deal kind of stuff. They're manufacturing a narrative of me as this negative, awful rule breaker, when actually I've been in limbo waiting for my time to get the promised freedom. They made sure girl group Les Seraphim from Source Music debuted before New Jeans, which really killed some momentum and just financial investment too, not just emotional investment, by the time New Jeans came around. They didn't have emotional investment in New Jeans, yet they wouldn't let me maintain that fully. I did meet a shaman, she's a friend, that has nothing to do with any of this. I did not walk out on HYBE. I actually was in limbo and didn't walk out on SM Entertainment previously either, but that narrative came up, yet I really just bailed after 3 months of waiting. In legal limbo, they weren't coming to talk. Talks were just not happening anymore, so I left. The same thing happened here, and we stopped talking. This past week has been hell, and I think some of the hostility HYBE has towards me is due to an internal complaint I filed against them previously. So they're out to get me. I have every right to try to take back full control of the group and subsidiary I created because they violated trust and promises and sabotaged New Jeans' potential by prioritizing Source Music's group first. Those are the big takeaways. Her lawyers also added some comments including they can't reveal the confidentiality terms of the agreement she signed with HYBE for privacy reasons, so they can't elaborate on what parts of the contract she finds unfair in a very technical sense. They also framed the raid of their devices for the audit's sake as coming out of nowhere, that the amount of money they invested in New Jeans has been grossly exaggerated for a public reputation preservation. Then HYBE issued a very lengthy rebuttal. It was very odd because first, they actually just issued a statement briefly saying we don't really have time or interest in rehashing the falsehood she shared. Too many to count, so we're not going to go into it. Which, in my opinion, was a bad move because that just made him look sketchy. They said, quote, we can refute all claims with evidence, but we've decided not to mention them one by one as we judge that they are not worth responding to, unquote. So that first statement obviously didn't really help PR-wise. So then they did one by one address what she had said. So here's what HYBE said, listed in a 12-point plan that I'm really breezing through because there's just so much here. They said, first of all, moments you're characterizing as just casual talk were not. It crosses over into disclosing info to people that you shouldn't once the context is sensitive financial and business statuses. You involve third parties wrongly. We've invested heavily in New Jeans and have been beyond generous with our offers. Your salary offer that you asked for was so high, you're changing this narrative. You're trying to make it be like, HYBE wouldn't allow me to get paid what I'm owed by refusing my salary proposal, when really it was an absurd salary proposal, and you knew that and did that just to get this narrative out there that we rejected it, because any company would reject it. We did give you heads-ups for the audit, but those heads-ups were not responded to. We also gave you an alternative laptop to work on so that we were not, as you claimed, inhibiting your comeback promoting work. New Jeans didn't debut first, but in part, remember what you said in a March 2022 interview, that you didn't want to rush a girl group's debut. Throughout their argument, they did directly quote her own words from past interviews to say that proved they were not at fault for the delayed debut of New Jeans, the narrative of New Jeans, etc. You are not tied up forever, your contract is very reasonable, and you are allowed to sell off your stocks anytime after this November. Plus, your contract ends in 2026. They also then brought receipts about her quotes about, "I don't care about the money. We blame you for the talks breaking down because you shut off the back and forth first. We did respond to the internal complaint previously. That's a non-issue here. We have read receipts showing you did in fact read our 6-page response. And lastly, you can't claim this whole spin-off attempt was justified because you're trying to take back full control of your group. Because before Illit debuted, you were already preparing to spin off. We have signs that predates Illit's debut, so saying the full reason is Illit's copying New Jeans is not genuine. So as of recording time, where things stand is that she wants out, she wants freedom from HYBE. HYBE wants her to resign and replace leadership at ADOR. They also want compensation, legal repercussions for what she said and done publicly that they say tarnished HYBE's image. HYBE is also really amping up the amount of press, it seems, around other stuff. They just happened to announce RM's album release date, some other big moves we'll talk about in a second, right around the time of this press. And Belift Lab, their CEO, issued a company-wide email basically just saying, don't worry about what they're fighting over. We're still investing the same in Illit. We believe in our own vision. That's what we're doing. Stay the course. We've got this. So here are my takeaways, and I think I have some unpopular opinions here, but please bear with me. You know I'm so not a black and white thinker with this stuff. I really like nuance. I really like not whose side are you on framing. I like to have more detailed, complex discussions. So please know I'm not like Hope slams HYBE. I have a lot of complicated feelings about this whole thing. So please hear me out before you go off with a response. Honestly, I think the root of both sides' arguments in one context are not valid. I don't think Illit copied New Jeans in the first place. The accusation that Illit is just a ripoff of New Jeans, I just don't see that. Yeah, I saw similarities, which I broke down in the Best New Music episode last month. But in that episode, I also point out all the subtle ways they changed it. So when it comes to the discussion of when do you cross the line between copying and being influenced by someone, drawing inspiration from another artist, I don't really know actually if Illit did cross that line for sure. And K-pop trends are like this. Everyone's doing what New Jeans did. Their promo strategy, their aesthetic, everyone's copying some of their trends. They are trendsetters. Let's say Illit did copy New Jeans. You think it crosses into copying, not being inspired by them. Well, so did a bunch of other K-pop groups. Another thing I think is just not a true argument is that New Jeans has really been neglected. Now, I don't know the inside scoop of ADOR's operations and how much they really feel neglected, but I mean, this would be a very different story if this was a group that was flopping. Then I'm more prone to believe the argument, the parent company let us down. But I mean, New Jeans has taken over the world, from global fashion and makeup deals to Lollapalooza, massive merch sales, a global fan base, social media in a frenzy. Like, they're the it group of the moment. So it just seems a little strange to be lamenting how their potential has been not supported or enabled. And HYBE did mention a very interesting fact in their response. They cited a really interesting tally of press releases in the past year. For just New Jeans alone, 273, 659 for all big hit artists, 365 for all Pledis artists. But for New Jeans, one group on their own, 273. That's a pretty good average. So Illit copied New Jeans. I don't agree with that fully. And New Jeans' potential has been stifled. I don't agree with fully either. However, there are some things about this narrative against Min Hee-jin that I really want to push back against. One is any coverage that's just sexist and criticizes her disheveled appearance at the conference or talks about women not running businesses properly or whatever. Let's not do that. She is a good businesswoman and was showing true just emotion, how this is affecting her. And if she did look polished and unbothered at the press conference, media would have bad stuff to say about that too and call her obtuse or something. I also don't like any of the shaman talk. Just feels like such a tabloid-ready piece of bait to talk about. She's a friend who is a shaman. Like, okay, she knows a shaman, but that is far from this narrative spun about she's a bad businesswoman because she's getting her business advice from a guru. And that's really not the same as talking to a friend who is into that type of manifesting new age beliefs. So that narrative just feels insincere. I also do find it plausible that the lineup change was not meant to feel like a betrayal. I do think there are things HYBE has done that they did not factor Min Hee-jin's ideal preferences into account during, but maybe not with the malicious intent she ascribes to them. Companies make moves all the time without thinking about the human. It's analytical, it's just about the business, and they thought, we'll market Les Seraphim first, then New Jeans. Not really taking into account how that might bruise her ego, her sense that they invested more in her. I just think that could have been something. I didn't mean to be cold or cast aside New Jeans. These things happen. COVID kind of messed with some comeback plans too, especially for groups like New Jeans with so many music videos. Just a side note here too, this Les Seraphim or New Jeans, who should they be first argument is so odd to me because it's framed as so monumental because this is going to be HYBE's first girl group. Like, I know Glam was a flop, but are we just going to pretend Glam never happened? This is not the first girl group from HYBE, but I digress. Most business decisions, as much as I said they are just detached and analytical, I also think they do have blinders on for everyone involved. So many decisions made for one reason are taken to be in response to something completely different. So I'm saying I can't fully say, oh, that is totally 100% what happened when it comes to any one side of the story. Because often it's just a complex, messy back and forth. Who really stopped talking to who first? Where did talks really break down? What was the real source of retaliation in this aspect or that aspect? How much support was really implied versus taken away? Like, these questions, I just think both sides are interpreting what happened in a way that might not be fully what really happened. I see a lack of clear eyes in this whole thing about why tensions are there at all. This does not, though, have to be the same conversation as one about contracts. When it comes to subsidiaries and how much power subsidiary owners should have apart from their parent company, it could be a really predatory method. I don't know the ins and outs of that type of structure. So I encourage anyone arguing over what team you're on to stop and allow for nuance here and not pick a side. Don't view it that way and just wait. Wait till tension's cool. Wait till more info comes to light. Be patient as the narrative keeps unfolding and allow for several aspects of this to be separate conversations. Did Illit copy New Jeans? Let's separate that from, did Min Hee-jin get a bad contract, a violation of what was promised to her? Then a separate conversation about, did ADOR use the wrong tactics to break free? There's a separate conversation about how genuine or sinister were the true motives when HYBE did certain marketing moves for others. I just think all this needs its own set of conversations. When talking about this issue, bottom line, please unpack it and allow for all of it to be unpacked. It's a lot. There's a lot more that HYBE has made news for recently. From TXT and the General Mills collab, to the Tiny Tan Toy Story rebrand, to Quality Control launching with HYBE, another subsidiary, Concrete Records. HYBE has also gotten press for being a signatory on a letter demanding responsible AI usage in the music industry. They also announced an extension of their Universal Music Group partnership, which gives Universal exclusive music rights for the next 10 years of both digital and physical HYBE albums. They clearly have legacy on the brain. Now That's What I Call K-Pop, the Now That's What I Call Music series K-Pop edition, that new release is produced by Universal. They also made public news of the sentencing a 41-year-old got after extorting over $500,000 from a BTS fan, claiming he would score her big opportunities and knew BTS personally. Like, he could be a networker. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison for the extortion. So she took out over 150 installments of payments, some involving loans, just to invest in this scammer. Meanwhile, New Jeans are in court themselves trying to get Google to unmask a YouTube defamer. Lots going on all fronts with this company. No wonder they issue so many press releases every year. Also making tons of news, not always for the better, SM Entertainment, who is being sued by Pub Construction. Remember the SM Town Square that was set up in Los Angeles and the new headquarters in LA that was going to be built? This 2-story multi-purpose building, like an art hub, a cool hip hangout, that's been running into many issues. Sumi and Lee of SM Entertainment back in 2013 bought this Koreatown 2-story building for SM Entertainment. He bought it for $4 million. Now SM Entertainment owes $3.76 million for not paying the construction workers fairly. So almost everything they put in to this building, and probably much more if they lose in court and have to pay legal fees of the other team and stuff, they are on the hook for quite a bit more every day. Not just like accrued interest, but like the cost of keeping up the incomplete project, like the construction, fencing and stuff. They're also accused of just being really not responsible, pushing back, delaying the construction process, then pinning the blame for construction delays on everybody else. They are wearing the hot dog suit saying, "We're all trying to find the guy who did this. Really hope you all know what I'm talking about." But they apparently changed, according to the court documents, the layout, the drawings for what they wanted for the design 35 times. 35 different submitted proposals. They also made over 100 change order requests and over 200 RFIs, requests for info. So the paperwork really also dragged out this process. This case, filed back in November 2023, is actually against Creative Space Development, the USA subsidiary of SM behind this project. So Creative Space versus Pub Construction. This project started SM Town LA in 2017. The summer of 2019, Pub renewed its contract with Creative Space, aiming to finish by November 2019. But then came a cascade of new redesign proposals. Quote, SM started to make unilateral claims that were far from principles, common sense, and facts, and began to shift the responsibility for the delay to us. They even notified the termination in November 2020, unquote. After a lengthy delay, Pub came back on board the project the summer of 2021. The gap months, though, thanks to a surety bond, there was financing for continued construction, but if you thought it was disorganized with the design reprints, imagine how chaotic it was when construction was in a "is this contract legal yet or not" holding period. Pub then said they worked on this through August 2023. So this started in 2017, 2019, all is well, contract renewed, which they plan to finish by the end of 2019. That got pushed back to 2021. Then they worked through summer 23 and then said, after all that back and forth, Pub's contract was wrongfully just terminated without compensating the workers. This is actually really interesting timing because a couple months ago, SM Entertainment announced their leadership shakeup for the SM 3.0 makeover. And Sumi Lee really distanced himself from SM, and he sold all his remaining shares in SM. To HYBE, actually. Meanwhile, like HYBE has a ton of announcements coinciding, coincidentally or not, with bad PR related to the law, a court case possibly. SM Entertainment also has recently announced a bunch of unrelated big moves, like the new deal with Kaiko Games to develop new IP-related mobile games. They also get to tout a British Deputy Prime Minister, Oliver Dowden's visit to SM Entertainment's headquarters in South Korea. That overseas promo coming to you, very valuable right now, because story number 3, the USA just bumped up visa fees for traveling performers an exorbitant amount. I will not stay impartial during this story. This is ridiculous. Visa fees for international artists who want to come to perform in the USA just rose 250%. And honestly, every detail makes it feel more absurd. This happened April 1st, of course. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services hiked the visa fee, so not even a fee to officially get your visa, but just to apply for one, from $460 per application to over $1,600 per application. Back in 2016, you paid $325 for the application, from $325 to $460 to $1,600 per band member, per member coming here. So if you want to bring a crew, dancers, whoever, each individual has to pay that fee for their own application. If you want to cut to the front of the line, you could give your application expedited processing for a fee of just $2,805. If your application is denied, there is no refund. The application process has also gotten way more thorough and lengthy than it used to be. Your application used to be like 2 to 3 pages 20 years ago. Now, 15 to 20 per application. So hundreds of dollars, 15 to 20 pages of forms, plus supplemental papers like newspaper clippings, proof that, yes, I'm applying for this travel visa for a performing purpose. I'm not misappropriating this visa. I have a reason to be there. Interestingly, most of the time, American performers can go anywhere without some sort of performance visa. I mean, you need a passport, but you don't need a special visa for a concert. But you do if you're a foreigner in the US. There are some loopholes where you don't actually have to get a visa, but the loopholes, the exceptions, are really bad in other ways. Like South by Southwest, events like that, they let you perform without a visa first, but you don't get paid for the gig. So don't worry, you don't have to pay up for a visa if we don't pay you to perform here. We're giving you free exposure, just be grateful. That's the mindset. So why is this happening? First of all, people are greedy. They jack up prices all the time. They claim it's inflation related, which some of it is, but some of it is just because they know they can say that and excuse what they're doing. And part of it's because I think an issue like visa fees, it just didn't get enough public attention and therefore public backlash to be stopped before it passed. This rule went through because there weren't enough people ready to stop it who even knew about it. It's not exactly a sexy issue to talk about. The official reason they claim is of course not because we like money. We need to clear a backlog. So to clear a backlog of cases, get on these visas, screen them more efficiently, we have to cut down on the quantity we have to go through. I would argue a way to do that is to look at quantity of hours you're working on this, not apps, and cut the paperwork a bit, or at least the supplementals you want. I also don't think it's really going to work. You are disincentivizing artists from performing here, so I guess it will be a deterrent. But a lot of desperate artists will pay those fees. It'll be hard. It'll be a relative waste of their money that they need for other parts of the job. I don't know. This might actually be effective in their mind. Either way, it's very concerning and feels very unfair and arbitrary and exploitative. It's not just in this area. This trend is not also just artist-specific. Just broadly speaking, every part of the coming to America process, whether for performing or moving here, the process has been so bureaucracy-laden, extra complex the past couple decades. So much red tape has been added, so many steps. You can argue about what's valid and what's not, but what you can't argue about is the fact it has gotten more complicated. So, caught in the crosshairs of changing policies are some of your favorite artists. Speaking of favorite artists and global impacts, is K-pop's peak over? The debate goes on. Did K-pop really reach its peak, its best point, when BTS released Spring Day and Run? Was that the height? Twice as What Is Love era? 2017, 2018? Was that peak K-pop? Did it all go downhill and now it all sounds the same? Goldman Sachs doesn't think so, saying the stock market continues to undervalue K-pop in its lasting power. They actually predicted officially that K-pop fandom will rise by 26% more over the next few years. They run contrary to the Financial Times of Asia's K-pop is in decline argument. They say, no, we have reason to be economically optimistic, and we actually should value K-pop related shares 85% higher, or even more. Okay, first of all, I have a business take on this, then an official taste and aesthetic related take. First of all, just business speaking, I agree with Goldman Sachs that don't underestimate K-pop yet. It's not waning. BTS is coming back next year as a full group. All 3 of the best-selling 3 albums of 2023 and 6 of the top 20, just period, in the world, best-selling albums of the year, 6 out of 20 were from South Korean artists. And although parts of the world, like in China, there's been a crackdown on fan fundraising and fan activity period there that might affect sales, the US sales are still going really strong. K-pop also still clearly has a ton of market power. In case you missed it, there was enough fan backlash to a Hyundai aluminum supply deal that it got scrapped. It was going to be renewed between Hyundai and ADOR Minerals, but K-Pop for Planet and other groups collected signatures, spread the word, and protested the electric vehicle maker's choice to go with ADOR Minerals, which is using tons of coal to make the stuff that goes in the electric vehicle. Long story short, they're like, that violates your own climate pledge and is contradictory. Don't do this. I'm saying that's an example of K-pop market swaying power. Don't underestimate it ever. That type of enthusiasm and passion that drives business decisions, just because of, like, in this case, you have climate conscious BTS ARMY members who heard about this through BTS's Hyundai Ioniq marketing campaign. That's enough to get them invested in a product and they become a target audience. Don't underestimate that passion. Downy soap selling out after Jungkook's comment. Another good example of tangentially related products are related enough to get K-pop fans to affect your sales. So don't rule us out ever. Now, as for just style reasons why people argue maybe K-pop's heyday is over, I insist it's not. And mainly just because of the way culture shifts. As someone who studies culture through an analytical lens with my sociology degree that I like to talk about way too much, I mean, I just see cultural patterns in this trend. Things reach new heights of interest. They can wane, they come back, they wane again. Some don't, of course. Some do have a quick heyday and then they're not popular anymore. K-pop, I think, is in the category of it's not like that. Its peak is not its one peak. It feels kind of like the SNL talk. SNL in the US, you always hear people say, it's not funny anymore. It just got so bad. It's kind of the same thing. Yet you're still watching. It's still on air, obviously. It's still getting big name artists and guests. It's still bringing in numbers, at least compared to other TV. So it's like cool sometimes to be on team. It's going down, but you might still be hate watching or just watching. I feel like it's kind of similar with K-pop now. People will be like, oh, K-pop's unoriginal now. It's out of ideas or it's getting boring. You're gonna say that every time another group debuts. Like, we've seen it before. And it's no fun being in that mental space. Come on. Like I said about Illit and New Jeans, culture is all about repurposing and putting a new spin on old stuff. I mean, there is an argument about some groups getting derivative, reductive even, but let's be open-minded. Not just assume it's all B tier now. Especially if you're a real mega connoisseur of music like me, you pick up on a lot of subtleties, a lot of the layers, the detailed ways songs are very different. I mean, you hear all the time too, just about pop music period. All pop songs sound the same. But if you really get into it, there's so many technical ways you can argue back that that's such a flattening, reductive way to view it, and that there's always so much experimentation and creativity in pop songs. I could talk all day about this, so I'll move on. But just know, K-pop power is still here, and its best days could still be ahead. Don't be a downer. Don't set up a self-fulfilling prophecy. Just stay open-minded. There is still so much to cover, so I'm really gonna run through it real fast. So just buckle up and get ready. There is so much to get to. If you really want me to slow down, talk about one of these stories much more in depth, just let me know, message me. We can do that on another episode, but really there's so much left to say that we just have to speed it up. Even more hype-related artist news. Since we last talked, J-Hope dropped a 6-part docuseries about his street dance roots. Suga had a concert movie, as did aespa, and Trafalgar confirmed they have been making bank on K-pop concert movies. They still plan to release a few more of them throughout the year, mixing traditional and 4D, Screen X, etc. special screenings. Since BTS started that big concert movie go-to choice in 2018 with Burn the Stage, Trafalgar has earned over $120 million in box office revenue. You can keep up with the latest K-pop concert films if you do subscribe to Trafalgar's email alerts. That's Trafalgar. Legal issue, legal feud, contract-related feud, stories I've been closely following and covering across several past episodes. And I have updates on those cases. Go to past episodes with headline roundups for the backstories. Chu won a second trial against BlackBerry Creative, the agency she was under with Luna. Basically, they just upheld the previous verdict. And 50/50 have had a loss in court. February 16th, their company Attract issued a statement saying their case against the Giver CEO was forwarded to prosecution. The next month, the police confirmed the prosecution was declined for Attract's CEO. So leaders at the Givers still targets, but Attract separately, charges dropped. They're not going to be prosecuted for what 3 members of 50/50 allege was a breach of trust and contractual obligations. Meanwhile, early investor in Attract, David Yawn of Evergreen Holdings, keeps expressing optimism for his vision of the future of both the company and K-pop groups like 50/50. He is hoping to set up his own K-pop agency now, sometime this year. In mid-May, there will be these big pop-up events with the monochrome theme, BTS events, from Tokyo to LA. A range of K-pop girl group members were detained in Bali for filming without permission. A cast of 30 people total were in trouble and detained. They were filming a KBS show called Pick Me Trip to Bali, but had their passports confiscated, leaving them stuck there. It seems like the group applied for the wrong visa, like a travel/tourist visa, when they should have had a filming-related visa, so they didn't get the right approval to film a show there. Stuck in Bali includes A-Pink's Bomi, Hyo, and Secret Number member Dita. Jun Somi was on the Spirit of Seoul special on CNN March 24th, showing off her Tier 4 Taekwondo skills and talking about her experiences being raised by one Canadian and one Korean parent. Titan Content, launched by a former SM Entertainment leader, is working on a show in partnership with the Gurren Company in LA to make a US-based K-pop reality show called K-Pop Dreams. The 10-episode special is set to feature different aspects of Korean culture, then relate them to the dream of fulfilling your quote-unquote American K-pop dreams. April 28th marked the premiere of a new SBS variety show cooking show hybrid, Sae-Ri's House. It stars Chainmin of TVXQ, highlight member Yoon Do-jun, and a former pro golfer, Park Se-ri. Another new variety show, this one from KBS2, premiering mid-May, is called Synchro U. Hoshi from 17 plus Karina from aespa are members of the star-studded MC lineup. I'm conflicted about that show and what I think of it. The show is a guessing game. You have to guess what 1% of vocals you hear are authentic, while 99% of the time you're going to hear AI-generated vocals. It's sort of a lip-sync battle meets The Voice situation, but in an AI dystopia. The Seasons is back with new host Zico. Twice was on the Today Show. On the Kelly Clarkson Show, Hyunjin with Max to perform Stupid in Love, and TXT to perform Deja Vu. ITZY were on Good Morning America. Xiumin is set to host a new survival show called Make Mate. Hyojun of Oh My Girl was upgraded from special MC to permanent MC of Funsterant. Eric Nam is set to voice Aang in a 2025 version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. MC changes at the K-pop music shows. On the show, the new crew is Hyunjun from Gravity, Nana from Eunice, and Xiaojun from Wavy. On Inkigayo, the new crew is Zero Base One's Han Yoo-jin, Lisa from IVE, and Moon Sun-hyun. Max Chainmin is making his musical theater debut this year in Benjamin Button. I could spend an excessive amount of time breaking down award show winners of late, from the iHAARTRadio Awards, which recently introduced quite a few new K-pop categories, to the Asia Star Awards, the Hanteo Awards. The two main awards I'm going to talk about, though, for the sake of time and, frankly, interest, the Korean Music Contents Association made a move I honestly agree with, where they decided to just indefinitely postpone the Circle Chart Awards with a blunt statement saying there are too many K-pop shows, too many award shows, saturation has been reached, we're gonna back up. Honestly, I would be less bothered by so many K-pop award shows if the categories were not so repetitive. Like, just have New Star of the Year or Rookie of the Year. There are so many categories like that where it feels like it's just semantics and they're pretty much the same thing. If we just cut down on nomination categories, then the amount of award shows is more understandable, but yeah, it wasn't sustainable. Higher quantity of the shows didn't really translate into higher audience engagement either. The other main award show thing I want to talk about is just an interesting one because it's kind of a look behind the curtain. A Webby Award win this year was Jimin for a moment on Jimmy Fallon's show. And in a separate category, the People's Voice Award for Media and Entertainment in the branded content category. The winner is called They're Just Ken. Ryan Gosling gifts BTS's Jimin Ken's guitar. Look, I kind of knew, but it's still kind of surprising when a PR stunt is an award winner. When they just admit, yeah, good job, guys. The winner for a great PR move is that not organic at all, viral social media moment when Jimin wore an outfit like Ryan Gosling's Ken. Ryan just so happened to see it and send him a guitar he used while playing Ken. Jimin then just happens to feel compelled to send a thank you video into the world. Barbie and Jimin both get a promo boost. It was pretty obvious it was manufactured, not just a genuine, he just found out Jimin is a fan or Jimin just found out Ryan is a fan situation. Just interesting to have the curtain fully come off that though. ATEEZ dominated Coachella, as did many other K-pop acts, both just in the crowd and on stage. Fashion-wise, music-wise, K-pop was big. The presence was felt, but especially ATEEZ, who at the same time kicked off a special 2 years worth of programming the Grammy Museum has planned for K-pop-themed exhibitions, the first one being for ATEEZ and their label mates. Speaking of good promo, that exhibit at the Grammy Museum and Coachella gig really helped tee up nicely the excitement for the big announcement of ATEEZ's 2024 World Tour. R.I.P. to some really iconic people. Kai Yu-hwan, a famous Taiwanese electronic artist. Shin Se-dawn Tiger, who passed away at age 40, February 23rd. His work dates back so many years. He brought us hits from Momoland, 4 Minute, EXID, A-Pink, Tiara, Tribe, and rest in peace, Park Boram, who died April 11th at age 30. It seems like every day there's a new announcement about a K-pop artist going on hiatus for health reasons. But lately it's been extra dark, like Winter from aespa went on hiatus for a collapsed lung. Lopless member Chanty is on hiatus for chronic fatigue. Jay Weaver member Gabin is on hiatus for sudden hearing loss. What is going on? Recent/upcoming military enlistments, Taeyeon, We Miss You Already, Hwang Minhyun, Hyuk, Park Jae-jun, Sunkook from Vanner, and icon members Bobby and Chanwoo. There have been so many agency switch-ups lately, rather than run down through a whole list, I'll just shout out the most notable ones that I just found the most consequential, just industry-wide, most worth buzzing about. Lots of AOMG artists left that company upon contract expirations. Lehigh, Gray. BB Girls moved from Warner Korea to GLG. And Yoojin left the group. GLG is home to High Key. Davichi left Wake One Entertainment after a decade. B2B Company is an official company now, established by the B2B members. Also keeping their trademark, Highlight, who also just got ownership of their old name, Beast, so they could reuse it. Shiny contract updates. Onu left SM Entertainment for Griffin Entertainment. Key and Mingho renewed with SM. And Taemin left for Big Planet Made, home to Vivi's. Recent disbandments. TFN, presumably VAV after they left A-Team Entertainment. Cherry Bullet and Nature. Stream Girls. Girls by Nature, what a moment. TWS, less than a full month since debuting, already signed on for global promotions with both Virgin Music and Geffen Records. Most of the group 9i, Everyone But Eden, said that they are currently in dispute with First One Entertainment. They issued a statement that didn't really clarify much. It just said, "We want to reassure you, we're in a dispute right now, that's why we're quiet, but we're not breaking up." Separate new lightstick reveals from the boy bands Rise and Plave and Boy Next Door. Billboard Korea is officially a thing, and the special launch day guests of honor, ATEEZ. Lino from Stray Kids is officially the youngest member of the World Vision Korea Bob Pierce Honor Club. On Rolling Stone's Future 25 list of artists making it big this year, Les Seraphim and Cantopop group Mirror. On their list of most stylish stars of the moment, they included NCT, XG, and Stray Kids. Would have put at least one 17 member on there, but I digress. So many K-pop stars we're seeing at Korea's Fashion Week. They also continue to have brand deals left and right. IU for Estee Lauder, Hani from New Jeans for both Uggs and Gucci, covering all the bases. Danielle for Celine. Rise have a new deal with Fanta. Blackpink teamed up again for merch with Takashi Murakami. Baby Monster rep Adidas now. Miyeon is the face of Wake Make, a makeup brand. Junsomi launched her own brand, GOYF. Giselle now reps Loewe. Les Seraphim had a new Casetify collab. ITZY teamed up with G-Shock for a special new custom model set to celebrate 2 years as their brand ambassadors. Jisoo became the first musician period to rep Self-Portrait, a London fashion house. 10 started repping Saint Laurent. Jolin Tsai became a Valentino ambassador. Loved the rare Jolin Tsai news update. Jackson Wang has a new collectible figurine collection with Pop Mart. G-Dragon released a new perfume. Felix stole the show Walking the Runway for Louis Vuitton this year. No big deal. And CL was tapped to host the finals for this year's LVMH Fashion Prize. Jisoo as a soloist joined the app Dear Bubble and launched her own company for her solo work, Blissu. Plus Chat 2.0 is the name of a new app for fandom activity, launched by CJENM. New to Instagram, Sunwoo from The Boys, finally, Lucas, and Stray Kids members Han and Lino. Throwing out the first pitch at baseball games separately, ATEEZ's Yunho, ENHYPEN's Heesoon, Nikki, and Jae were at the Mariners game. As part of the MLB World Tour Seoul Series, there were performances by G-Idol and aespa, plus Soonmin from Stray Kids threw out a special first pitch when it was Team Korea versus the LA Dodgers in March. Les Seraphim were dubbed Friends of the NBA, following in Suga's footsteps. Baekhyun sang both the Korean and American national anthems at a March 21st MLB Seoul Series game. Sleepy is now a dad. Ben announced she divorced recently. Kyary Pamyu is going to be a mom. Ryuk announced he's getting married to Ari from Tahiti. Paul Kim announced his marriage. Ailey announced her upcoming marriage. Won Hyuk announced his marriage to Lee Soo-min. Member of the group Alice, Sohee, announced her marriage and her departure from the music industry. There are new fandom name announcements. Hwasa Solo named her fans Twits. Honestly, not a fan of that one. I get reclaiming an insult, but I don't know. I like Akmu's choice, Academy with a K, 2 Ks actually, although it's weird it took them 10 years. 42 Sai, SAI, is the fandom name for TWS, and is the fandom name for WIB for WHIB, standing for All Fans Are Number One Dream. 82 Majors fandom, 82 DE, referring to the DE at the end of Attitude. Honestly, I'm not a fan of these. Lately, fandom names have been disappointing. What I do think is cute is Chunha renaming her fandom Heart, H-A-A-R-T, like mixing Ha in Chunha with the word for start. That one's my favorite. Lastly, feel free to share your thoughts with me. Would love to know what your experiences were at Miku Fest this year. People seemed really let down that this year, at least in Vancouver, she wasn't a hologram like usual. She was a 2D image. Like, what is this, substitute teacher day in elementary school where they just wheel in some TV show? Fans also took issue with ticket sale issues, low merch quantities. Some tickets were being resold for over $1,000 to watch a 2D image. It sounds like the online buzz against Miku Fest this year is not even that much about the 2D image as the false advertising. Like if in past years you saw her as this lifelike hologram, and then they scaled back the tech the next year without changing their marketing to make sure you know to expect less, I'd be mad and want a refund too. And what do you think the difference should be in paying for a 3D versus 2D show ticket? Let me know what you think about that or anything I talked about today, which was a ton. So thanks so much for sticking with me. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, link in description to read even more of what's been going on in the world lately. Thank you all as always so much, and I'll talk to you all again before you know it. Bye everybody.